Hi everyone, it's me, Unstable Voltage. In this video I'd like to talk a bit about Civilization 7 and discuss some of the changes and new mechanics. I'd like to start by saying that I'm a big fan of the Civ series. I started around the launch of Civ 5 and it quickly became one of my all-time favourite strategy games. 8 years ago I was privileged enough to get given an early release key by 2K Games for Civ 6 and was among the first people to play it. I wasn't that lucky this time around, so my observations in this video come from gameplay and developer videos put out there by Firaxis, along with recent gameplay videos from a bunch of other content creators. I may have gotten some of this wrong, so I'll be sure to revisit all of this once I do have my hands on the game. So let's start with the elephant in the room and talk about monetization. There's been a lot of chatter around this one as Civ 7 is launching with 3 different editions, with its most expensive coming in at the time of recording at £120 or 130 US dollars. These top tier packages include various DLCs, some of which won't even be available at launch. You can pick up the base game for $60 or $70, and while that's on the higher side for a base game, it's not an unusual amount to see these days. I would say, given how many hours of playtime fans of the series are likely to put into Civ 7, especially if it's 8 years until the next game, the base price will actually work out at pretty good value. However, it is maybe a bit egregious that the mid and top tier package are required to get to play the game 5 days early, and the majority of extra stuff included in those top tiers are day one cosmetic flares and a few Civ and leader persona variations. I completely understand that fans will want to get their hands on the game almost a week early. I'm one of them. I also understand the desire to have all of the content, and 2K are banking on that too. At the end of the day, whether we like it or not, this is now the norm. I work in the games industry. I've worked for a number of game development studios. Making a game is expensive. Developers don't exactly get paid minimum wage, and when you consider how many people it takes to make a game and multiply those salaries by 2 to 6 years of development, it's a lot. That's before you pay for rent and electricity, as most larger teams are still office-based, pay for computer hardware, office furniture, licenses for software and tools, and payments to all of the external agencies who handle things like QA, localization, global distribution and marketing. I highly doubt that 2K are in a rocky financial position, but they want to make a profit. They're a business. And the ability for a game to make good money helps to keep the lights on at Firaxis and those developers in a job. As someone from the industry has been laid off 3 times in the last couple of years because a game didn't make money, I can totally support them. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the game changes themselves. Firstly, we have the ability to mix and match civs and leaders. This isn't exactly new. Civilization Beyond Earth, which was released between Civs 5 and 6, wasn't all that popular and fell into obscurity, but there certainly were some interesting ideas buried in there. As a game set in a fictional and futuristic sci-fi setting, instead of historical civilizations and world leaders, Beyond Earth had the player choose a sponsor, colonists, and a spacecraft, mixing and matching bonuses and attributes to create a unique and tailored civilization. The available options were limited, and likely because of the historical significance, none of these factions and leaders were really memorable, and they all felt bland to play and a bit devoid of character. This is vastly expanded upon, though, in Civilization 7, with 30 civs available at launch and at least 1 more planned for DLC, and 21 leaders, even more if you count the multiple personas. There are many more options on the table. This might sound almost like an infinite variety for new games, but it does come with a pretty major caveat, and that's the era or ages system. At the start of a Civ 7 game, you select a leader and one of 10 civilizations available, and you enter the game in the Antiquity Age. Once the end of that age is reached, you'll then need to select a new civilization from another selection of 10, some of which need to be unlocked through various achievements in the previous age. You then move on to the exploration age with your new civilization, and at the end of that age you have to pick another civilization from the remaining 10. This is an interesting mechanic in my opinion, although I can understand why some people are sceptical and some just straight up don't like it, but I'll reserve judgment until I've played it. I suspect it's to solve one of civilization's age-old problems. Bonuses don't scale. Almost every civilization in Civ 5 and 6 has bonuses and unique units or buildings that are either strong in the early game, mid-game, or late game, and are totally useless everywhere else. Splitting each game into effectively 3 smaller games with each with a different civ means that bonuses can remain relevant throughout the entire game and still give lots of replay variety. What is apparent here is that Civilization only goes up to the end of the modern era, around 1960. The information age is ominously missing. Though the game director did imply strongly in a Firaxis stream that this 4th age may come further down the line. Whether this is a paid DLC, an expansion or a free update is currently unknown. And this is another reason why many aren't happy with the pricing, as some feel like they're only getting 3/4 of the game at launch. I don't really agree with that though, as the number of ages doesn't directly equate to the amount of content, but we will see. Another new and interesting feature is the military commanders. So these units are available for land units, naval units and air units. A commander allows you to pack multiple units into a single stack and move them around as one. Don't worry, it's not as overpowered like the old Civilization 4 Doom stacks, as you can only have a maximum of 4 units attached to a commander, going up to 6 with the correct promotions. This allows you to quickly pack up groups of units and move them across the map more easily without the constant single tile shuffling that we encountered in Civilization 6, which was very often frustrating. We've seen mechanics like this before in games such as Age of Wonders, Endless Legend and Humankind. The difference here is when you unpack the army, the units all occupy their own tiles on the strategic map, just like they did in Civ 5 and 6. Instead of only splitting out and fighting on instance tactical maps like they did in those other titles. The commanders also act like generals or admirals, and they have their own promotion trees. They can provide buffs and bonuses and additional utility to their stacks. I'm excited about this one. And I think it's going to take a lot of the tedium out of managing larger military forces when you need to move them around the map. And it's going to reduce the endgame busy work while still maintaining the same granular tactical control during combat. City growth has also changed. As each city in Civilization 7 gains population, you can use that pop to claim a tile or add a specialist to an existing tile. Buildings in cities are no longer built all on the main tile. Instead, every building is built on its own tile. More specifically, you can build 2 buildings per tile. This also sees the removal of workers or builders, as resources are improved by building the appropriate building on that tile. Again, a mechanic that we've seen before in games like Old World and Age of Wonders. Civ 7 also makes use of rural and urban tiles, so as the game progresses, your cities will start to sprawl. Some buildings will last throughout the entire game, but some become obsolete at the end of each age and must be replaced. Every urban tile in a city can be fortified with walls and defences, meaning each tile has to be captured to take over a city. New settlements don't actually start as cities, by the way, but instead towns. A town acts more like a vassal, as you have no direct control over what it builds, and all production output from a town is converted into gold for your empire. And you can use that gold to purchase buildings within the town. You can also set a focus for each town which directs how it grows and what benefits it provides. A town can be upgraded to a city with a gold cost. Again, this is designed to reduce the endgame busy work and saves having to constantly queue up buildings that aren't needed every few turns in minor settlements. There are, of course, a bunch of other new mechanics and changes coming in Civilization 7, but I don't really want to get into those until I've played it and had a chance to understand them better and experience their impact. But just from the changes I've covered in this video, I can tell that Firaxis have tried to reduce a lot of the frustrating busy work and tedium from the past games, while trying to maintain the pace of the game from start to finish. Almost every game of Civs 5 and 6 that I've played over the last 10 years has ended with spamming the next turn button while I wait for the victory screen, often having to stop to tell a 3-pop city in the middle of tundra to build a granary that it doesn't need. I'm very excited for Civilization 7 and I'll definitely be playing a lot of it. I'll be covering it on the channel in both streams and videos, and I'll try to put up some tutorials and guides together once I'm hands-on with it. So thanks for listening to me ramble on with my thoughts about Civilization 7. If you'd like to see more content, please do consider subscribing, becoming a channel member or supporting on Patreon. Links can be found in the description. I'll be back with Civilization 7 content starting on February the 6th, so thanks for watching, and until then, goodbye for now.